Hey everybody, I find that Necromancer Summons are still extraordinarily overpowered. Maybe not extraordinarily overpowered, but they're still extraordinarily powerful. Since people are complaining so much about summons being weak, and Blizzard might actually believe them, I find that we might actually end up in a situation where Necromancers will launch so unbelievably overpowered that we might as well separate the latter into a Necromancer and non-Necromancer category in order to preserve competitive integrity. How can that be? How can Necromancer Summons still be so powerful? Well, it's quite obvious, really. When I started to play this class, my first thought was, everyone was telling me Necromancer is useless, they're unplayable, their summons are terrible. And so the first thing I said to myself was, okay, let's just figure out the best way to play them. If your summons are dying a lot, how do I get the most summons? Well, I do that with Decompose, which creates a corpse. If you and your minions deal 10% extra damage to enemies who are deemed to be composed. If an enemy dies while decomposed, you gain essence. I don't have the slow. I basically made this build on the fly. The most important part about this build is just Blight, dealing extra damage towards blighted enemies, and an important, Hewn Flesh. Hewn Flesh has a chance whenever you deal damage to an enemy to create a corpse. 12% chance, doubled to 24% against bosses. I then also went with Skeletal Warrior Mastery, and I also went with Skeletal Mage Mastery, but those aren't very important. I don't have a fourth ability, I don't have any uniques, I'm still using a blue, half my gear doesn't even synergize with my class. We have critical strike damage weapons, we have boots that give intelligence, movement speed, we have a rank of Blood Mist that I'm not even using, a rank of Blight, okay, that one I actually am using. We have lightning resist, we have overpower damage, more critical strike damage. This gear does not synergize with me, okay? So here we are, I just started a level 20 dungeon. How did I make this so useful? Well, the first thing I did is I went to Book of the Dead, and I went Skeletal Defenders. And every 6 seconds, whenever they take direct damage, instead of taking that damage, they don't. This makes them quite tanky. Skirmishers take 15% reduced life, Defenders have 15% more life. They tank. Reapers don't have more life, so I didn't look at them. I looked at my frontliners as tanks. They are fundamentally tanks. Tanks are not used for damage. Tanks are used to tank, to not take damage. That's their thing. Mages I could potentially have turned off. They have a huge tendency to run up and die. I didn't turn them off, but I could have. I'm not sure it would make that much of a difference in the long run. The fundamental aspect of this build, the thing that makes this build work, is we have Raised Skeleton, we have Corpse Explosion, we have Decompose, and we have Blight. Now from these, I'll show you real quick, we create dots, these dots create corpses, these corpses we turn into damage over time. This damage over time we then use to create more corpses. Works pretty simply, it's not that complicated so far, right? The Skeleton Warriors just run up there and they hold the enemies in place and they tank. I probably shouldn't have taken that shrine, but we can probably get up to the boss here and the shrine will end anyway. So I want to get to the boss because the thing is, as a lot of people have told me, that the bosses will kill you. They'll annihilate you. There's no way you can beat a boss with a summon. It's impossible. And I find that actually this build is even more powerful against bosses and becomes even more powerful over time. Not less powerful over time, more powerful over time. Even against things like this, even against packs of enemies, it doesn't really matter. You run up, you start dotting enemies, none of this matters. You can buff enemies, once you start doing that, I'm literally just hitting the button because I know corpses are going to start being made. And once corpses start getting made, we're good to go. And we just summon, we summon, it doesn't matter. We can summon so quickly, the cast time is basically instant. Now, I do agree the UI is pretty bad. Seeing how your skeletons are alive down here sucks, because then how long your buff is lasting on your skeletons is over there. It's in 2 different locations. But the thing is, this is so stupidly easy to do. You don't really need to turn your brain on for this. We need to hold down left click to create essence, but as we're holding down left click, more things are dying. We just, every so often, we drink a potion if we need to. I guess these are Ice Clan bones for some quest or something, I don't really know. And this is it. This is the entire build, I assure you. We're just putting down dots. Dots create corpses. Then we use those corpses to create bone explosions. Or sorry, corpse explosions, which then create more, the corpse explosions create more dots. More dots creates more corpses creates more corpse explosion, creates more dots, etc., etc. Our tanks are not here to do damage. They're here to tank. if I need more tanks, you can see I have an ample supply of corpses. Anywhere I want, I can get more corpses. When I'm not using corpses, I'm holding down left click to generate essence, then I'm pressing right click to create more dots, then we can do this. If I run out of skeletons, we just summon them up real quick. That's it. If they die, we don't care. They're there to tank. That's it. They know their job. I know their job. Their job is to sit there and to not die for as long as possible, to hold the enemies in a position where we can continue to summon more corpses. On boss fights, we really need them because someone has to sit in front of the boss and keep them in position for my dots to kill them. That should be pretty simple to anyone who's done these sorts of games before. So as you can see here, I don't have a synergistic build. I'm on World Tier 2, okay? This should be difficult. It should be difficult. I'm not really using items. I'm not even using a fourth ability. In fact, I won't even use Decrepify throughout this entire run. I put 3 points into it. Or no, sorry, I put 2 points into it. And I realized, I don't really like it. And I just decided, screw it. I won't really use it. So this part's really easy. The more dots we have, the more corpses it creates. The more corpses we have, the more dots we can create. We can easily just, these elite mobs, it doesn't matter. They can't do anything. There's nothing, I don't even need to look at that. I'm not going to pick up more gear because I don't need better gear. To be honest, I did most of this run without even having full items. I didn't even have rings. I forgot to upgrade my boots. It's just over time I slowly realized, guys, you're not supposed to sit there with your skeletons alive forever. Your skeletons are supposed to die, and when they die, what do? Oh, I just go remake them real quick. It's literally that easy. Some of you guys are acting like you need to take a large amount of time to create these corpses, to create these zombies, or sorry, skeletons, and you don't. You really, truly don't. You have to keep track of your buff down here because you want them being healed, or you don't want them being healed. It doesn't really matter. They will slowly kill all enemies. They're pretty tanky on their own. Other than that, you hold left click, you get essence, you clear through the dungeon. At this point, I'm just clearing through the dungeon, trying to explain the build. So the general idea, once again, is your dots, every time you deal damage to an enemy, you have a chance to create a corpse. Then you use corpse explosion. On bosses, the percent chance gets doubled, so it's pretty easy on bosses to keep. Well, I should specify. It can be difficult based on your RNG to keep your corpses up against bosses, but for the most part, it's really not that difficult. And once you get all these dots down, I mean, as you saw, once you get these dots down, it's really easy to, you know, drink a potion every so often. But other than that, you can see that the chain starts occurring here, so to speak. Once the dots come in, they're gonna start. You're literally just gonna start pushing into enemies here with your dots. And I think that's an elite unit. It's sometimes hard to tell. And if your units die, okay, so my zombies died here, and I just got stunned. And you just, okay, there you just, I can't tell where the bodies are. There we go. So, there we go. And then, okay, so once they're back up, then we can go back to... It would be really neat if the UI actually had the, dudes who are alive, you know, like position. Honestly, I know I joke about this before. Just put a goddamn green dot above my head. Green dot means all skeletons are alive. No green dot means start reviving skeletons, they're not all alive. Like, I'm sorry, I have ADHD, right? Like, I do, I have actual ADHD. It's hard for me to keep track of this stuff. I do my best to keep track of this stuff, but, you know, at the end of the day, you're keeping track of corpses, you're keeping track of zombies, sorry, skeletons, and you're creating skeletons, and, you know, it can, yeah. So let's, run into another pack of enemies. We start setting up our dots with blight. That creates corpses. We can, if we actually do remember, we can keep our dudes healing here. And remember, every 6 seconds they ignore an attack. So every 6 seconds they can tank through something, and it might not seem like a lot, but you know, that's 4 dudes, and every 6 seconds they ignore an attack. We keep them healing this way. Later on in the skill tree, I noticed you can get even more healing, so that's pretty good thing. And we don't really care if they're doing damage. I guess the mages do damage, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal. And then we can start, you know, cashing in on all the corpse we're creating to create these, you know, even more dots here. And this is it. This is the entire build. It's a fun build. I'm not saying it's not a fun build. It's definitely a very more active build. I think some people came into the Necromancer expecting D2 Necromancer. I'm gonna be blunt. I don't think D2 Necromancer should ever be made. I played so much D2 Necromancer. You might tell that I play a lot of Necromancers. I think that this Necromancer is probably one of the most active and fun Necromancers we'll get. Making a pack of skeletons, running up to enemies, and just the skeletons kill them all? Yeah, that's kind of fun, I guess, but it's also pretty old school when you think about it, no? So, okay, there we have the event complete. Now we can continue. And you can see I'm having no trouble here. I got stunned at one point and nearly died because I forgot to revive my dudes, but Necromancer isn't exactly squishy. I don't know who is squishy in this game, but I don't feel that squishy. I'm on the harder difficulty as well, so you can't blame me for that one. The one thing I do think as well, I do think skeletons should heal outside of combat. It's just tedious having to remember to heal them in combat. It's not fun, it's tedious. Having to, you know, like sit here and heal and then wait for that buff to time out and then heal again, that's tedious. That's not fun. That's tedious micromanagement. There's fun micromanagement, which is keeping up dots and things like that. And then there's tedious micromanagement. So you can see here, we start creating dots on him. Dots create corpses. And then I can see corpses, but it's not blowing them up. There we go. And you can see, we're losing some of our dudes, but we only need one in front of him tanking, and then we summon more, go back, dot, let's do this until we get a 1, and then we can start blowing these all up. And then we can see more being paraded, and then we just make more. I can see at his feet there's more corpses here. So then we make more. The Skelly boys are just in here tanking. I have not in any way expelled any mental thought here whatsoever. I mean, I have so many corpses to work with. And that's it. That's literally it. That's as hard as this gets. Now, you tell me, does this seem massively underpowered? Does this seem like, as I've read on Reddit, that skeletons need 400% more health? Does this seem like you can never use a summon build? Does this seem like Shadow is useless? No. Actually, this seems still, to me, to be a very overpowered, easy build. I honestly think I could take off half my gear and I could still do this run. So, you know, here's my opinion. Skeleton Summons, still overpowered. Necromancer, still overpowered. This class, if it gets buffed, will ruin the ladder because it will be so overpowered there will be nothing that can compare to it. So, I hope just by making this video that everyone kind of, you know, rethink your builds is what I'm saying. Rethink your builds, play a bit smarter. I used 4 abilities, not 6, 4. I am very much not min-maxing this, okay? I am using so much gear that does nothing. I am using wrong gear. I have max essence and lightning resist on my helmet, okay? This is not me. I'm not trying to show you a min-max Necromancer run. This is a Necromancer who is just leveling, and even on the harder difficulty, this shit is so easy. I literally just stood in the back and chain casted, which isn't that what you want as a Necromancer? Isn't that what you want? Don't you want to be sitting there micromanaging? This is it, guys. This is it. You've got your micromanage build. So, you know, I'm just, thank you for watching. Thank you for giving this some time of thoughts. I welcome all opposing opinions, but yes, Necromancer Summons are still, in my opinion, overpowered. This class is still, in my opinion, very overpowered. I would like it to be balanced a little bit because I do intend to play it. And when I do play it, I hope that it is a little bit more balanced so I can enjoy the content a bit more. As we saw there, I did screw up a little bit, and I did let my summon count get down. But as we can see here, I could summon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more times, and that's what the 900 corpse explosions I did. Okay, so think about your build. You're doing dots, okay? Just think about what they've given you. Your options are, you have Hewn Flesh, which can create a lot of corpses. You have Decompose, which can create corpses and does a dot, and that dot, well, I mean, it's kind of a dot. It's a channel at any rate. I assume that's how it works as a channel. The channel, Hewn Flesh, you can create a lot of corpses. Then you have Corpse Explosion, which over 6 seconds on a 24% chance, once a second, I believe, it ticks. So actually, Corpse Explosion will, on average, but RNG screws with this, on average, Corpse Explosion will actually replace itself if the entire thing hits a boss. So if these skeletons are on a boss and they're tanking it and they're keeping it in position, yes, you will eventually, on any boss that doesn't have some escape move, you will go infinite and you will be able to indefinitely tank. Even if my skeletons are wiped out, as you saw, I was easily able, if I could, oh boy, here, let me zoom out just so I can show you guys. I did do, at 3 levels under leveled and missing rings, you can go look at my VOD to verify this, okay? 3 levels down and missing rings, yes, I did clear, whatever that ice boss is, whichever one that is. Is that you? I don't know, the super ice doom boss who does that giga AoE and is very frustrating. So that's all I wanted to say. So rethink your builds. Please don't ask for Necromancer to be buffed more. In my opinion, I think summons are about fine. Okay, I think summons are about well balanced, but I think that some of the shadow stuff is maybe a bit overpowered. Corpse explosion is maybe a bit overpowered still. So I hope for more Necromancer nerfs. I do, because I enjoy the class. I hope for it to be better balanced. And I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.